Welcome back to the ClassyJS Devlogs. This is ClassyJS Devlog number 6. If you're new to ClassyJS or you'd like to follow along with the progress we're making, check out the previous devlogs linked in the description. If you'd like to download ClassyJS, the link is in the description, or you can go to classyjs.com. In our previous devlogs, we created the dog and cat class that both inherit from the pet class. We've optimized our code by moving much of the code for dog and cat into pet, and we've secured our code by making the properties name and sound private. Today we're going to look at the limitations that come with making properties private and a new member access specifier, protected. There are two ways to look at access to members by asking two questions. Can it be accessed from outside? And can it be inherited and accessed from inside? For public members, the answer is yes to both questions. They can be accessed from outside, and because they are inherited, they can be accessed from inside the inheritance chain. For private members, the answer is no to both questions. They cannot be accessed from outside, which is why we use them, but they also cannot be inherited and used inside the inheritance chain. They can only be used in the class they were declared in. Let's take a look at the pet class. Its two members, name and sound, are both private, and we access them inside the greet method, which is fine because we're still in the pet class where they were defined. We know that these members can't be accessed in the main application. In the previous devlog, we tried to access them in main by trying to change the name of this.firstDog and then calling the greet method. Nothing happened because these properties aren't available outside. But what about inside the dog class? Inside the dog class, we're not currently trying to access these properties. Let's try to change the name after it's been defined through the superclass call and see what happens. After the superclass call, we'll add this._name equals Bob. And let's test this in the browser. Nothing changed. We see Hugo says bark. It's acting just like when we tried this in the main application. We can't access it. This is both the strength and limitation of private members. We've made sure that they can't be accessed outside of the class, and we've made sure it can't be accessed by its subclasses. But what do we do when we want to stop access of a member from outside and still inherit it and access it in our subclasses? We use the protected or pro specifier. Let's return to the pet class and see how this works. We want the property name to be accessible inside of pet and its subclasses and any future classes in its inheritance chain, but not accessible from outside. So let's change it from private to protected by changing pri to pro. It's that easy. And now name is protected instead of private. Let's test this. We'll go look at the dog class. We still have that line of code, this._name equals Bob. Let's test this again. Boom! It worked. It now says Bob says bark. Great. We've shown that it's accessible inside, but is it also accessible outside? Did we break the security we tried so hard to put in place? Let's go back to main and check it out. Let's try to access the name property again. We'll add this.firstDog._name equals Chris. And then we'll add this.firstDog.greet. We already know that _name is a red flag that we shouldn't be able to access it from outside like this. So let's test it. We see Bob says bark and then Bob says bark again. This shows that we can't access protected members from outside the inheritance chain, but we can access it inside. Today we looked at the incredibly powerful protected or pro specifier. This allows us to define members of our classes that will be inherited and thus accessible inside the class and subclasses that follow. It also keeps these members secure by not allowing them to be accessed outside. This is hugely powerful by combining the power of inheritance and the power of controlling access. In fact, it's so powerful, it already works for your cat class. Give it a shot by uncommenting your first cat instance in main and trying to rename it from both outside and inside. Thanks for joining us today for another ClassyJS devlog. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.